Welcome back to EP3, a comprehensive user interface for Energy Plus. In this tutorial, we'll continue with HVAC systems in EP3, and I will show you how to copy an HVAC system from another EP3 model into your current EP3 model. So we're working with, this model is the 5-zone air-cooled IDF file that's been imported into EP3. 5-zone IDF is 5-zone air-cooled IDF is one of the example files that comes with your Energy Plus installation. The HVAC system looks like this. It's a hot water loop, a chilled water loop, and then air loop HVAC. So what I want to do is I want to create an EEM for a completely different HVAC system. So I'm going to create two EEMs, one for this VAV HVAC, and I will create another one for the ground source heat pump, GSHP HVAC. Each time you create any EM, it makes the current, or the EEM that you created, the current EEM. So I'm going to make the VAV HVAC the current EEM. I will double click into the HVAC group, select all of my HVAC. And what I want to do is turn off this HVAC in the ground source heat pump EEM. So I'll say manage availability in EEMs. So first I will apply it to all selected objects, and then the base EEM, I will allow it to stay on. VAV HVAC. Now VAV HVAC, this EEM actually inherits from the base. Both EEMs actually inherit from the base. So I can say for this HVAC, I can say that VAV HVAC inherits from the base, or I can set it to yes to be explicit. With ground source heat pump, I'm going to say no. So if we change now to ground source heat pump, we can see there's nothing showing up in that group. If we go to base, all of this HVAC equipment is on. So let's go to a different EP3 model. So this EP3 model was imported from the zone water source heat pump with a dedicated outdoor air system, IDF, that comes with Energy Plus. And this is what the HVAC system looks like. So we have green generally denotes a loop that is maybe heating and cooling, or could potentially be a condenser loop. This is the ground source heat exchanger. We have our dedicated outdoor air system, and we have our zone HVAC system. So to copy this, all I need to do is double click into this HVAC group. So I can do it here, or I can double click here. I'm going to select everything, and then I'll hit Control C. I'll go into my other model, and I'll double click into the HVAC group, and I can hit Control V to paste it. So I'm just going to paste it a little bit to the side or up or down. It doesn't really matter. So I'll paste that in. And then the second step is to right click, and I'll say View IDF for items referenced by selected objects. So these are all the schedules, curves, anything else that any of these HVAC elements may have referenced. So I'll hit Control A and then Control C to copy this text. Now, before I paste the text, what I want to do is change to the ground source heat pump EEM. And then I will hit my import dialog, and I will just simply paste by going Control V. So I'll paste that text into this dialog box here. Now the reason I changed EEMs is that I have a choice here of what happens if they're objects with the same name. What do I want to do with conflicting values? So I will overwrite the inputs in the current EEM. So I don't want to change any schedule values or curve values if schedules or curves happen to have the same name. I don't want to change any of that in an EEM where I'm using the VAV HVAC system. I only want to change that when I'm dealing with the ground source heat pump system. So I'll hit OK. And it gives me a list of the things that were imported. When you import this way, you don't get the detailed import report that you do when you're importing an IDF file, but you still get a list of the things that were imported. So now if I go click into my HVAC system and I click on ground source heat pump, I can see that some of these referenced objects now are referenced. Similarly, schedules are referenced, and we have a design specification outdoor air object, which is also referenced. The next thing I want to do, so if I change my EEM, we can see that this ground source heat pump system is showing up in this VAV HVAC. And that's because I haven't managed the EEMs for this HVAC system yet. So I'll select all of it, say manage availability in EEMs. We can leave it on in the base. We'll say no in VAV HVAC and say yes in ground source heat pump. So that will turn everything off. And then when we switch EEMs, we're just switching HVAC systems. We're not quite finished. You can see it's obvious with the air loop HVAC system that this loop is not complete, and that's because we haven't assigned any zones to this air terminal. We also have not assigned any zones to this water to air heat pump. So we need to go to view zone assignments, and I will turn on both of these objects. First of all, I'm going to rename them because the zone 1 air terminal, that zone 1 name is not relevant anymore. So let's rename this air terminal. So I might just call it DOAS direct air. And this one I'll just leave WTAHP. This is a composite object, so we also have outdoor air mixer, fan, etc. So I'm going to say change subcomp names. And then if we refresh this, we can see that this fan now has WTAHP fan, WTAHP CC for cooling coil. So the subcomposite names are consistent with the parent object name. This is really helpful for looking at output reports and for looking at if you need to do any edits in the IDF file itself or anything that you need to do after you're done working in EP3. This can be really helpful to have the names coordinated. All right, so let's go back and view zone assignments. So now we have some names that are a little bit more applicable. And we can turn them on and off by clicking them. We can also change the order of simulation by dragging them. There we go. So we want our outdoor air, which is our minimally controlled equipment, to be simulated first, and then we'll have the water to air heat pump be simulated. So if I click out, we can see that now this loop is completed and we have 2 HVAC systems in our original model, and we can simulate them both. That concludes the tutorial on copying HVAC from one model to another. Thank you.